Until you stop paying my dues, I want to. Every Wednesday.
Have the board, you want to do the grad and flip? Apply. Right.
Well, I'd like to bring this meeting to order. We'd all please stand and salute the flag. Patrice, would you like to lead?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, approve the minutes of January 26th of '09 meeting. Anybody have anything they want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we already took care of it, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, you said, Charlie?
The stuff I have is different. Have you changed them? Because they're really not.
Just
The committee
clarified.
report section is.
Which one?
The committee report.
Yeah, I clarified
26.
the discussion about the water and sewer.
Yeah, it's sort of garbled. I don't know.
Yeah, page 3 of 8, bottom of page 3, and
Or
top of page 4.
the second item under seat appointments, it's Stephen K.A.H.L.
We got that.
He was appointed to take over the remaining term. For the balance of this year's term from Miss Elliott, to be required to run for the remaining 2 years this March.
Right, Charlie, look at page 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth bullet clarifies that. So it's, what the discussion is clarified.
Right. We talked about it twice, Joe. I thought in the beginning when we talked about it after Patrice asked the question.
Yeah, I was concerned about that too, Mr. Chairman, that it didn't reflect the discussion. We wanted to clarify what
Yeah, a lot of this
exactly
is just garbled.
happened.
That's,
Yeah,
I
it was
don't know.
garbled, so it's, you see it's been clarified, Charlie, or do you have the old minutes, the old draft?
The layout,
You get you.
Okay, do you want to see the new draft? It's in,
Yeah.
it should be in your,
I don't know, I've got two drafts.
this is the new draft. See, this is in our file today, and here's the discussion right here, and then we discussed it over here, so that's when it got clarified.
The layout is D-A-L-E-O. The third paragraph doesn't make any sense. Discusses further actions being taken by Ashland to pursue this project, whatever they're talking about. It's the actions are to be taken by Plymouth in conjunction with Ashland. And it's a pipe that runs from our sewage treatment plant to Ashland's. And this is based on the fact that the Ashland treatment plant is 80%. It's basically operating at 20% of capacity. I don't know, I tried to make If they could spell my name properly, that would be okay too, HR.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to move to strike or to add, Charlie, on the corrected copy?
Noted that Mr. Cull appeared to be a good choice, noting his strong environmental background and Main Street's interest in running a sewer line to Ashland. I don't know what that has to do with, one has to do with the other. He appears to be a good choice because of his strong environmental background, period. And then I discussed further the actions being taken by Ashland to pursue this project. It's Plymouth and Ashland are taking actions to investigate a sewer line from Plymouth to Ashland.
Yeah, Main Street, Plymouth, you definitely want to take that out.
What happened on the tape, Charlie, you kept mentioning Main Street.
Yeah.
And I think she thought that you meant
Anyways,
Main Street,
yeah,
the
it's
organization, not Main Street.
The whole thing.
Street.
garbage.
Yeah.
We could rewrite it if you...
Well, I thought it was, the discussion was about Main Street, because Tom said,
Main Street,
with
Plymouth.
Tom Salmon, Main Street
No,
Plymouth's
it-
interest.
No,
But it had nothing to do with, the article on Call
Right.
has nothing to do with Main Street. Then there's a
Right.
secondary
Main
issue of Main Street Plymouth. They're promoting the pipeline to Ashland. Ashland hasn't done anything to pursue, at least at this stage of the game. It will involve the Ashland Sewer Commissioners and Select Board, as well as the Plymouth Water and Sewer District.
Right, Mr. Chairman, would we entertain passing over these minutes and Charlie submitting
Yeah.
some corrections that he'd like to make?
Yeah.
I think if you separated it out, Charlie, as a separate bullet, maybe, some of the, just put the bullets of what you were
Yeah, it seems
discussing.
like a whole thing, just, I don't know what they're talking about here. The total cost for the above estimates were $56.70 and $28.65 respectively. Where the devil did that come from?
That was something, I think that was, you were discussing something about the tax, no, the water increase rates for, water rates, I think that's what
The
it was.
number's $56.70 and it had nothing, the water increases, there are two proposals. One's based on a 10,000 gallon minimum, and a proposal B is a 5,000 gallon minimum. But I don't know what those total costs. Cost is $8 million, give or take.
Can I make a motion?
But why don't we just go
Yeah,
back and I'll
pass
see if I can
Okay, I
straighten
need a
it
motion,
out.
I need a motion to table this.
So moved.
Second?
You-
I'll make a motion.
Okay, it's been seconded by Patrice. Any further discussion?
Hello?
I have a motion on the table. I have a second by Patrice. And I'm asking any further discussion.
I would just ask Charlie to submit your
Yeah,
corrections,
I'll
Charlie.
go through it. And
Okay.
Someone's got to be rewritten from top to bottom.
All right. No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes for January 29th, budget warrant hearing. Anybody have anything they want to add?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of January 29th.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes of January 29th, been accepted. And we have let's see, budget hearing minutes.
We did that.
What's February 22nd, I'm sorry, work session, February 2nd, 09 minutes,
February 1st, Mr. Chairman, I think, is that it?
February 2nd.
Oh,
February
it is?
2nd.
Okay, then we need to put second on the minutes.
Okay.
I would move that we approve the minutes of February 2nd
Minor, yeah, that and
with the
second
correction. Right.
And the adjourn, this is start, so
Right, with the T, the typo, yeah.
two minor typos.
Okay, so I would move that we approve the minutes as amended.
All right.
Second.
Been seconded by Charlie. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Announcements. The Select Board will meet on the following dates. Regular meetings, 6 p.m., February 23rd and March 23rd, 09. Work review sessions prior to the regular meetings will start at 5 p.m. Work session meetings, 5 p.m., March 2nd and March 16th of 09. All the above meetings will be held in the Town Hall unless otherwise posted. The annual meeting for the Plymouth Elementary School will be held on March 2nd, 09 at 7 p.m. at the elementary school. Town elections will be held on March 10th, 09 at the Plymouth Elementary School from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The annual town meeting will be held on March 11th, 09 at 7 p.m. at the elementary school. The annual Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District meeting will be held on March 12th, 09 at 7 p.m. at Pease Public Library in the lower level meeting room. Weather observations for the month of January are available in the town hall. All right, under agenda review, does anybody have anything you want to add to the agenda tonight? Okay, if none, moving right along. We have, under visitors, Jeff Brown and Dick Hanaway to discuss affordable housing project in the CDBG grant. Please come forward. Have a seat. How you doing, Jeff? How you doing, Hall?
Thanks for taking the time to allow us to make a presentation on this, and I'll give you a little piece on this. We'll have something to review.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hope I got enough.
There we go.
And Dick couldn't make it here, so I just thought we'd have a chance to discuss this project. Dick and I have been looking for a couple of years to find another site to do some affordable housing. As you know, Dick operates Plymouth Apartments on Fairgrounds Road. He also operates Plymouth Terrace across from Hatch Plaza. And in his daily view of things, there continues to be a strong need for additional affordable housing for those folks who are working here in the community, and mostly service employees and folks that are making anywhere from $8 to $10, $11 an hour. It's a struggle out there, and I think these times are even tougher as we continue on here. So the genesis of this project was Dick looking to expand some additional housing units, and I've been associated with the Bridge House, the homeless shelter, the whole village for many years. And they also see a very difficult need in moving people into permanent housing. They see a lot of folks, a lot of families who are actually making tremendous progress and getting stability in their lives and not able to find a place to go. Holly Cormier is the manager at the Bridge House, and if you have any questions about how that works, she'd be happy to answer some questions. So what we're proposing here is to develop some affordable units in collaboration with the Bridge House, where a certain number of units will be set aside as units that are provided for folks transitioning from the shelter to permanent housing. And they'll continue to receive case management and support for a period of 2 to 3 to 5 years, whatever is necessary, to get them to a stable situation with employment, with education, childcare, all those things that those folks need. So this would be sort of a contract arrangement on at least 6 units that are proposed. And part of that program is very appealing to the funders who would provide the development funds for this. This is actually going to be funded through New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority's low-income housing tax credit program. They haven't done a project up in the North Country for a number of years. Most of their projects have been down in the southern tier of the state, and a lot of their projects are sort of weighted in that direction. But they're very enthusiastic about funding a project up this way. So the reason I'm here tonight is to give you a little bit of overview of the project, and part of our application to New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority requests a letter of support from the town in supporting our efforts to bring additional affordable housing. So what you have here is a packet that's as complete as I could get at this point in time. The front page is kind of some of the points that I wanted to make, and we can go over those. But the inside here is the first thing is a letter from Kathy Bentwood, who is now the director of the Bridge House, and she cites her reasons to support the program and the project, and Bridge House's collaboration. The site that we're talking about is out on Yetton Road. So the next sheet will show you a little geographic topo map and site map on the next page after that. It's about a 19-acre parcel out on Yetton Road, just about 2/10 of a mile from Tenny Mountain Highway. And it does have sewer service out there. There's a sewer easement that cuts across the property that brings sewer service out to Mayview Turnpike. And that really was a significant feature from the funding sources, that they're looking for either water or sewer on the site. As I say, it's 19 acres. It's near the Calvary Christian School. It's a relatively flat, low income. And the next page after that shows a proposal schematic of what the development could look like, in addition to some support drawings of what the typical units might look like as well. Just to make a couple of the points on the front page, as we know, a lot of the service employees are making, $7.25, $8, $9. That's really not a living wage for families that are trying to support kids. And the average two-bedroom apartment in town here is anywhere from $750 to $950 a month. If you used a typical ratio of no more than 30% of income to cover rent, that requires an income of $30,000 a year. That's a struggle for a lot of young families and folks in the service industry. Right now, there are 40 families on Hanaway Management's waiting list for housing. There's 23 at Plymouth Apartments and 17 at Plymouth Terrace. So right now, and some of those people are on the list for upwards of a year or 2 years. So it's a really difficult situation. A lot of the older stock housing is not particularly energy efficient, easy to maintain, and a lot of it, especially close here in town, tends to get rented to Plymouth State University students. The collaboration with Bridge House is important because it will create stability in the lives of these families who are making that transition, and they will continue to provide those services with close monitoring, case management, and they open up other funding sources for the folks that need help that the Bridge House can utilize for this project. So creating these opportunities for families really helps them become self-sufficient and contributors to the community. And I think there's some benefits to the town as well. Again, it serves the need for additional affordable housing. One of the funding folks would like to explore one piece of the funding, and it's a layering of different funding sources led by New Hampshire Housing Finance. But they would like to see if the town would consider sponsoring a CDBG grant, either for helping to fund the project, or perhaps consider expanding water service out in that direction. And it may be a win-win situation for everybody with the water out there. Of course, one of the other benefits, I think, is that affordable housing keeps more of the young folks here in town. A lot of people tend to leave the area if they can't find a place to live, or the employers can't find employees because there's no place to live unless they pay them a big salary. So a lot of the retail folks and some of the development I think we'll see in the future out along Tenny Mountain Highway is going to really rely on more of these service employees. And then the project, of course, will expand the tax base. This will be a full-paying property tax property. It's property that's in current use right now. It'll come out of current use, and then there'll be an annual tax bill to the town. So the value of the project is getting close to $4 million, so the valuation will add to the tax base.
What's the capacity right now of Plymouth Apartments? Do you know?
66 units at Plymouth Apartments and 30 units at Plymouth Terrace. So Plymouth Terrace is the senior project.
About 2 people per senior unit?
One or two,
One or two.
yeah.
And the 66, about
The 66, they're all two-bedroom units. Actually, no, there are some one-bedroom units, mostly two-bedroom units. Right now, actually, I've got a statistic. Hang on. I believe there are 134 residents at Plymouth Apartments. 138 residents in Plymouth Apartments right now. There are 86 adults, 34 school-age children, 18 preschool children at Plymouth Apartments.
And your company develops and manages as well? What have you done in terms of greenifying the Plymouth Apartments?
Well, I can't speak to that because actually that's the Canaway's side of the thing. But they are, that's a program that is actually overseen by Department of Agriculture's Rural Development Program. The property is about 20 years old, and they've done extensive renovations over the last few years. New windows, new heating plant, new roofs, things like that. And the proposed project will have some significant green current additions to it, including concrete form.
Radiant heating?
Pardon?
Go ahead.
Concrete forms, the insulated concrete forms, the use of foundations, things like that. The heating plant it'll actually be a centralized heating plant that will heat multiple buildings, as opposed to individual heating units per unit. The heat is provided by the owner, so when someone rents there, the heat's included but you can control that too.
Where else in the state do you have developments?
This is just local. This is just Hanaway management, Dick Hanaway. So he only has property here right in Plymouth.
No surrounding towns or?
No.
It's Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
I wondered, you mentioned 6 units, and when I look at this, I see 5 in my, what am I ignoring? I thought you mentioned that there would be 6 units, a contract for 6 units.
Well, there are a total of 24 units.
Mhm.
6 of them will be designated as units for the transition program.
Oh, I see, okay.
So 25% of the total units will be.
So you're not looking at it for all transitional
No,
housing?
no.
Okay.
And part of the implication there too, and the way it's structured, the units for transition housing will have a subsidized rent part of it. Actually, it's all low-income tax credit rent subsidies. The maximum rent is 60% of area median income. Okay. But there's some that will be as low as 20 and 30% of area median income. Those are going to be the bridge house units.
Okay, and what figures do you use for the median income for Plymouth? Is it from the census?
Yeah. It breaks down based on unit type and size of family and that sort of thing. So all I have is based on unit size. Mm-hmm. There'll be a mix of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units. 3 1-bedrooms, 3 3-bedrooms, and 18 2-bedrooms. So most of them will be 2-bedroom units. Mm-hmm. So the maximum income on a 60% of median income on a 60% maximum area is $31,000 a year. That's the limit on income for residents. That shouldn't be too hard to meet. Mm-hmm. That's a 1-bedroom unit. 2-bedroom unit, actually it'll be 37,000 on 2-bedroom unit and 43,000 on a 3-bedroom unit.
Does this back up against the backside of this? Is that backed up to Yetton's boat plan?
It's skewed a little bit to that, yes.
Who did the actual map drawing? Is that done by?
This is actually, which map are you talking about, that one? This is actually coming right off the tax map. So that's the town's tax map. But this was done by the environmental consultant. We've already had an environmental one study done out there, and so far, thanks to Clay.
The question when I first saw this was why Plymouth? But you've kind of answered that. One of the criteria they were looking for is being able to attach to sewer, right?
Right, that's exactly right.
So that was one of the main
Yeah, we've
factors.
looked at the surrounding communities extensively to try to expand the affordable base in some of these other communities. The difficulty is they don't have the water and sewer, and funding sources look for the places where the services are, the employment services are, and it all comes back to Plymouth. That's sort of where it all comes back to. The water and sewer and employment services and social services and all of that.
Anybody here, Charlie, any questions?
No, there's an existing sewer manhole. That, I mean, is that storm sewer?
No, there's a pump station out there as well on that. If you look at the neighboring property, there's a little square right by the Y of Yetton. And that's actually feeding. Now, I'm not sure, maybe you can answer the question. I'm not sure exactly where that sewer line runs.
It runs on Yetton Road.
Along Yetton Road?
And it's only a sewer line, it's not a water line.
Right, right.
There's no water
There's no
on
water.
Yetton Road.
Right,
There's no storage on that property, only on the road.
right, okay. Yeah.
Now, Holly, this would be something that the shelter was looking towards, transitioning the people from the shelter into the apartments.
Yep. Our qualified, Ridge House provides pretty intense case management to all the people that live there. And our families wait so long to get into Plymouth Apartments that they would transition into these apartments, and we would, I'm not sure we haven't decided yet if we're gonna have a case manager on site, or if, there'll definitely be a case management office out there. That person will provide case management, whether it be once, maybe 5 times a week, twice a week, to all the families that live out there. We're hoping to keep them out there, provide the support, and then bump them up into the next set of apartments so we can bump somebody else into those transitional housing apartments.
And they have very strict criteria about readiness, when people are ready to move from the shelter to independent housing. And they have a lot of standards that they have to meet before they can actually move in there. But once they're there, they're obviously living more independently, but are still being monitored, and that's the key. So they don't slide back.
That's true. But, Holly, when you say you're interested when they're ready to bump them, are they being bumped into Plymouth Woods or into some other?
They'll probably move into a different apartment in Plymouth Woods.
Yeah.
Or they could move
Like a
out
regular
to
apartment or a
regular
house,
apartment,
or-
buy a house.
I mean, that's the intention. The
That's our
intention
goal,
is
to
to,
get them.
right, provide them the
Yeah.
transitional housing for a short period of time until they would be able to afford something
Right.
something else. And the other apartments in this complex wouldn't, this is just for the 6 units
That's
that are
correct.
transitional?
That's correct, yeah.
The other ones are,
They're permanent
Permanent.
housing, permanent apartments.
Oh, is that the kind of relationship that happens now with Plymouth Apartments, where some residents are under case management still?
No,
This is going to be more formal.
that would be, yeah.
Okay.
We get them to, as far as we can, before we send them to Plymouth Farms.
And part of the reason why it's 6 units is partly management, you know, the oversight requirements. They didn't want to take on too many. They didn't want to make the whole project that way. And you know, they're going to be working with the folks that are there. So they're going to be fairly carefully selected and monitored. And each one will have a contract as they leave the bridge house so that they'll know what their responsibilities are. And but there'll be a distinct separation between the services they receive from bridge house and Hanway management. You know, there's got to be a separation for confidentiality reasons why Hanway management will know all the nuts and bolts of that case management plan. They're just going to be looking to them as tenants.
Right, now the income limits, is that for everybody in the apartment?
Yes.
Or, okay, not just the
Right.
6 units?
Because it's being financed through the low-income housing tax credit program, those are the limits on the rent.
Okay.
Okay, I've got a 6:30 PM, a public hearing on the petition at 6:30 right now. So what I'd like to do is just put this on hold. I'm just going to go into the public hearing for the petition warrant articles. I know there's some people out here that have some questions, and if you don't mind, I'd like to open the floor up to them so they can ask you some questions.
Yep.
All right, so thank you for your patience. Okay, as of 6:30, we're opening this, bringing the public hearing to order on the petition warrant articles. These are petition warrant articles, and I'll read the first one. There's 3 of them. I'll read three of them. Number 1, petition warrant article, shall we adopt the provision of RSA 40:13, known as SB2, to allow the official ballot voting on all issues before the town on the 2nd Tuesday of March. Second petition warrant article. To see, excuse me? Thank you. To see if the town of Plymouth will go on to record and support designing and building new municipal buildings, major renovations, and additions as high-performance buildings, recognizing that, 1, energy-related issues have an impact on municipal operations and budgets annually. 2, high-performance building practices reduce municipal costs over the life of a building, conserve energy, water, and natural resources, promote human health and safety, create high-quality and enduring structure, and enhance economic value. 3, construction, operation, and maintenance of buildings in accordance with leadership in energy and environmental design, known as LEED, and similar guidelines promote these goals and save money annually. Number 3, petition warrant article, to direct the selectmen of the town of Plymouth with the purpose of capping spending in the town of Plymouth to cap any increase of their annual budget to any projected increase in revenue above the last annual budget, and in no case to increase the annual budget more than the rate of inflation as defined by the National Consumer Price Index, as average over the 12 months preceding the vote on the new annual budget. Now these petition warrant articles, as well as the other warrant articles, you can pick these up here in the town office. Does anyone have any comments on these petition warrant articles? Yes, Ray.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Ray Gosney, on behalf of the Plymouth Town Energy Committee, on the second petition warrant article, I'd like to summarize and just articulate 2 of the major criteria that I think are important to the citizens of this town. The first is there's a real advantage to the town adopting this, and that it helps to fix costs going into the future. That's not exactly well spelled out here, but by constructing your facilities with energy efficiency in mind, you actually fix your capital costs with a known amount in the beginning, and you gain control over future variable energy costs. And we've all seen what that's been like over the past 24 months with the variation in energy cost. And with the ongoing effort that we've had here in the town of Plymouth to get our hands on our budget constraints, one might look at this, and should look at this, as an effort to help control future costs. The second is, with the initiatives that are being debated here in the state and in the last few days down in Congress, with what's going on with the stimulus, there's a great emphasis being placed on what we can do in the future to get a handle on our energy efficiency measures, and the effort behind that has a focus on both energy independence and also to come back and be able to fix what we believe are going to be our energy costs in the future. So the Energy Committee believes this is a great initiative. It doesn't require any particular set of standards be adopted by the town. It says that you will move forward with this, and it still enables the select board and any of your staff to be able to adopt what is appropriate. But it sets, if you will, a position that we want to make sure that we make this a focus on any future construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Anybody else have any comments on any of the petition warrant articles that were read? Okay, if none, then I'll bring this hearing to a close at 6:37. All right, thank you. And now go back to the affordable housing project with Jeff Brown. Okay. Does the board have any more questions? Okay, if not, if you don't mind, Jeff, if there's anybody here in the audience, I'd like to open it up and see if we're in. If you would rise, state your name and where you live, and proceed. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Larry Cohen. I live at 72 Yetton Road. I'd be one of the butters on the northern side of the property. And I'm concerned about the ecological impact with this project, because a great deal of that property, the back of that property is not only is it usually underwater, but there are significant beaver habitat there, and has been certainly for as long as I've been there. How does your plan on impacting or avoid impacting what's going on?
I can't address that because this is really so preliminary. We haven't done any. We've done an environmental one study, which is really an engineer takes a walk around the site. We still need to do wetland delineations and contouring and a lot of design work and engineering work, and none of that's been done yet. So this is the first information I have about that.
Okay, and you said you were looking for property that had water and sewage.
Water or sewer.
On the property?
Yeah, available to the property.
Available, okay. Because there's no water on Yetton Road, only sewage,
Right.
and the pumping station you spoke of is on my property. We gave the town the easement for that station. Again, how is that station going to be able to handle? I was looking at your drawing, and although it's a preliminary drawing, not only do you have the number of buildings there, but you also show now 2 more future
Yeah, we just asked our...
growth potentials.
Right.
And I'd like to know how, I don't think that pumping station could handle it.
Well, we haven't gotten into any of the engineering and feasibility aspects of that part of it yet, so I don't know either. Because the seller of the property, Mr. Horn, had a letter from the Water and Sewer Commission back in 1988. I guess that's when they ran that line, and it said that they could provide, and I'm forgetting the amount there, I think it's 6,000 gallons per day.
That was prior to a lot of the construction that could, the water and sewer line was taken down Yetton Road to get to Tenny Mountain. And since that letter from this water and sewer, a great deal of construction has gone on Tenny Mountain, which has eaten up Because in order, my concern, in order for this to happen, the more storage ability, more water has to be brought onto Yetton Road. And I'm not interested in enlarging the easement or the pumping station that's on my property now. So it's available and yet it's not available if you know what I'm saying?
That's a technical question I couldn't possibly address or know the answer to at this point.
But between those two, that's why I'm here, because of my concerns.
Good, okay, appreciate that, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? John?
Have you been to the water and sewer district with this proposal?
No, this is the first introduction for anybody in
You're
town.
probably looking at a significant bond issue to bring sewage out there, for sure. And given what they're trying to accomplish right now, I think it might be a long, long line. But I just think that you might want to get a feel for how the water and sewer district's going to react to this before going any further.
Yeah.
This is very, very preliminary. But Jim?
Yeah, where we're at right now is we're at the earliest stages where the application is going into New Hampshire Housing Finance to see if it's even going to be accepted for funding. One of the checklist items on that application is, can we get a letter of support from the town to approve the concept? And then, if we get approved and we get a reservation of credits, that's how it works, there's a process that takes a year or possibly up to 2 years to kind of move this thing through. And we've got to spend a lot of money on engineering and feasibility and all that. And every step of that way, every step of the way can sort of knock the thing out along the way. But we're at that very earliest stage. So these are good. This is good input because we haven't really had any sort of technical assistance to any degree yet. So.
Well, I know as a board member, not speaking for the board, but as a board member, I know the letter of support. We've always tried to use our planning boards as an advisory committee of what would fit or what would be conceivable for the town, what would fit into the town and stuff. So. I wouldn't be totally sold on this as something that would be best for the community, but, we've had other people come before the board looking for a letter of approval, but I know, as myself, I'm not, as I said, I'm not sure this would be what would be best for us. We seem to have a ton of low-income housing in here. I think we have our fair share. I think Patrice is more familiar with all the numbers on it, but I would know how the letter would be phrased, but I don't know if I...
Well, I think, I think that's a good point. What we're really looking for is a general letter of support, but we still have to go through the approval process. So I don't think this is an approval of the project on behalf of the selectmen. I think that's what it is just a step, saying, oh, conceptually, yeah, we think this is a pretty good idea. Go forth and work it out. Mm-hmm. Go to the planning board, get it all worked through, get all the technical questions answered, see if we get approval, and move that process along. So it's really, again, it's just a very early stage preliminary thing. Frankly, that letter is worth 10 points in the application to see where you compete with other applications throughout the state. It's a very competitive process, and I don't know if we'll get the approval from the state with the letter or without the letter. I really don't know, but it's just one piece that sort of adds to a whole.
Mr. Chairman, I think that what should be done is we should contact the school or the officials of the school to find out what the impact of that was. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've got to do a lot more studying before we actually present a letter of approval. as far as that's concerned, because no matter what you say, an approval is an approval.
Well, I call it support, but okay, I understand what you're saying.
And that at least does put into a mindset that at least people are approving it. So I think probably we've got to have it go before a planning board and also talk with the school officials and so forth before we even think of saying we approve this, because there's a lot that goes into it. I know you're saying that you've got X number of $1 million to go into the tax, but if it brings in another 15, 20 children, you're now talking about a bigger school, and now you're talking about, more teachers and a bigger police force and bigger fire force and everything else. So maybe the $4 million is going to shrink down to even a minus somewhere along the way. So we've got a lot of things to think about before we can even think about approving it, I would assume.
Well, our experience, at least in Plymouth Apartments and all that, these are people that are already in the community. So it's not necessarily adding more people, it's moving people from one place to another. I think that's a significant part of the, but it's well taken, and we need to contact the school and find out what they feel the impact will be. I mean, that'll be a given, I'm sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd just like to say, Mr. Brown, I would love to support it. I just feel that I need to get some more information from the other boards that this would have impact on, notably water and sewer, how that would play into this, and whether the funding would be available. Maybe there is funding, maybe some of this bailout money it's going around could be used to extend water and sewer out there. I don't know that, but certainly we are very cognizant in Plymouth of the housing study that we performed in 2003 that actually went through our whole housing stock and showed that we have more than our fair share of the so-called affordable or subsidized housing in our town, and we just need to be cautious about the impact fees that affect all our other agencies when we take on more than our fair share. We do struggle with a burden of having 1/3 of our property off the tax rolls in this town. So I think we just need to be a little cautious. It sounds like a great project. I love the idea of helping people with the transitional housing, letting people from the shelter get established and help them move on to a more permanent place in the community. I like that idea. I just think we need to touch base with some of our other agencies, and most notably the planning board, to see what their feelings are. And I'm concerned about the wetlands out there, what kind of impact a residential development would have on that, and a lot of the other development that's on hold out there. So I would look forward to looking into more details about it.
Anybody else have a comment on the board? If not, anybody else have any other questions they'd like to ask Jeff on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I came in a little bit late. My name is Dick Piper. I missed some pieces. Is this subsidized rental, or is this owned, occupied house, not owner occupied?
It's rental property, yeah.
Patrice makes a very good point, and that study was done specifically in 2003 because we needed to demonstrate that we have our fair share of subsidized housing in Plymouth. We have a huge number of units off Fairgrounds Road. We have units off from Langdon Street. We have units on Adrian's Way. And the cautionary tale there is that when I was on the board the last time, we had a planned project come before us, and the school did come in, and they spoke very, aggressively about that and the impact it has directly on them. So it bears to be watched very closely, and I'm not speaking to the need. In Plymouth, I would question whether the need is in Plymouth, but when I hear that we're moving people from the homeless shelter into transitional housing in Plymouth, to move them on so we can keep funneling through. I think that we need to be very, very cautious. The expense can be very great. And, we need to watch it. We tried to do a workforce housing project on Fairgrounds, in the old Fairgrounds. That project never got off the ground because in the final analysis, and that was owner occupied. That was a family with a set income, I believe it was $45,000. They would own the home. The mortgage would be subsidized. The rate would be subsidized. And the reason that it never came to fruition was because in the final analysis, it couldn't happen. They could not, no matter how well it was.
Economically,
It was unfeasible for them. They couldn't stay there, work and own the home. They just couldn't do it. The costs were, no matter how it was subsidized, and it was being subsidized by the banks, by the lending institutions and just to try and get something going there. So it's a very difficult nut to crack in Plymouth, and this is a unique community. We have supposedly 6,000 residents here, but actually we have 3,000 residents roughly and 3,500 transients. And when you look at demographics, when somebody from the outside looks at demographics of that, they see a totally different, or they can expect a totally different workforce. That workforce isn't here. Half of that force is here for a purpose, and they're here to get educated and move on with their lives. Plymouth is a different kind of a community, and we do have our fair share of subsidized housing. And I'm not speaking to the need, I'm not speaking against the project, but I'm just saying it needs to be really, really considered before the approval. Thank you.
All right, anybody else have anything from the floor? All right. If not, anything else, Jeff, that you'd like to?
Nope, I have nothing else to add, but thank you very much for
Okay,
your
thank
time and
you.
consideration.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Very good,
Thanks.
thanks. All right, the next item under visitors, Plymouth Rotary Club archway for the amphitheater.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Don Engelbert, and I'm a member of the Plymouth Rotary with other members in this room. As you folks know, there is a amphitheater that the Rotary has constructed on the Pemmy, and in the plans for that, at least in the initial conceptual plans, there was the whole concept of a main entry to get into the amphitheater, to define it as a place where people would move through to be seated for their entertainment. I came to the Plymouth Rotary probably about 3 or 4 months ago, and there was some discussion when I first came on board about having another timber frame company. I own New England Timber Frame, doing this project, and things sort of got postponed and delayed, and when my fellow Rotary members realized that I owned a timber frame company, they said, well, maybe there's an opportunity here for you to do something for us. So I've spent some time researching this, and I've got for you folks some drawings that I'd like to share with you. Essentially what we're asking your approval of is the concept of building a post and beam structure that you see. The first drawing is a 3D drawing of the building. This would be a post and beam mortise and tenon joint building. In other words, no nails, old joinery with oak pegs, high-end joinery. And it would have on it a roof. At this point, we don't know whether that would be a red cedar shingle roof or a metal roof or a 30-year asphalt architectural shingle roof. But essentially, it would be a building that was wide open except for the roof structure, which was closed in, and we would avoid doing any more closing in to try to stay away from birds nesting and other issues inside the structure. I brought these prints to the club and bantered around the idea with some club members, and what we came up with was the concept of putting a couple benches on each side, as you can see, in that the building is actually 12 feet wide. On that second page, you can see its dimension. So you see, basically, it's a 12-foot by 8-foot deep post and beam structure with a roof on it, and it would all be done in cedar so that we wouldn't have to worry about maintenance issues. And if you folks had looked at the Plymouth Rotary, we have a website up and running that shows you the actual amphitheater today, and as you know, it's completed, but there is, again, no entrance to it. So what we're proposing is to use the work that's already been done on all of the excavation and benches and everything that's there, and placing this frame on the back two posts of this frame would sit on what is currently there, what is finished section of the amphitheater. And then what we would do is bring in, actually Scott King would come in and do the footings for the front. So they would be supported in the front by the footings that we pour, and then the rear posts would sit in a pre-existing amphitheater structure that is already there. I think this might be a little easier for you guys to digest than the last presentation, in that my company is willing to donate this to the town of Plymouth. And I would do this along with my partner, Paul Freeman, who owns SP Brooks. I build post and beam homes all through the Lakes region. For 35 years, I've been buying my frames from him, so we have a strong business relationship. He is at the point now where he's costing out what the dollar amount will be for the cedar for this project. What we would do is, once I have those numbers from him, and I will have those numbers from him before our meeting on Wednesday, then we'll know how much the Rotary needs to come up with to fund the actual cost for the frame. And then I'll break things out for the roofing and for the excavation work. The only thing that we would ask, that is New England Timber Frame and SP Brooks, is that we have a plaque in there that said donated by New England Timber Frame and SP Brooks. We thought that it might be really pretty neat if we could use a Rotary symbol, the wheel with the gears, that actually is attached to the front of the structure. And since it is a gear mechanism, we run a through bolt through the timber and stand it proud with some bushing. So when you looked at this building, this will be a very, very attractive building. And it would advertise that it's a Rotary structure, and there'd be a small plaque that said it would be donated by us. Hopefully, we would be able to get some publicity from the newspapers and some advertisement. That's the reason that is the financial impact that my business might gain as a result of the endeavor. We would hope to be able to put this in the ground this spring.
Can you, what type of maintenance would be required to maintain this?
Well, the idea is if we went with cedar, we're going to eliminate a tremendous amount of the maintenance. You know, if we go with a 30-year shingle, you know, you can get at least 30 years out of that. So the roof, we wouldn't be worried about anything for 30 years. As far as lighting, we would probably want some kind of lighting on the outside to show the Rotary symbol and some kind of inside light. So if there was an event during the evening and people had to get through, they'd be able to see where they were going. And we would do all that by code. I would contact some of my subcontractors and have them do me a favor to get this done. So, but we would obviously meet all the codes that we need to. So the maintenance should be minimal. There's one issue that I looked at initially, and that is if you go down there, you see that when the road is, the parking area is plowed, that snow is pushed right up against where this would go. So a couple thoughts. One is we actually use what's called a stirrup, and it looks just like that, a stirrup. And that stirrup would be mounted, it's sort of like a slingshot, if you will, like the old Whammo the slingshots, and the leg of it gets mounted into the stonework, and then the posts sit right in that, and then you through bolt it to hold it in place. So it won't go anywhere. In fact, it probably shouldn't even go anywhere if snow is pushed up against it. But maybe that would be a consideration that we could keep in mind when we do some plowing there, so we don't abuse that whole scenario. But other than that, it should be maintenance-free.
Now, is that going to be on a level surface?
Yeah, yeah. The, essentially, when you step up from the parking lot, there's now a brick walkway. So you'd walk along the brick walkway, and then you'd step into the structure. And you'd go 8 feet in, so there would be 2 posts in front, you'd walk 8 feet in, and the last 2 posts would sit on the pre-existing finished amphitheater area, and then you'd go down the stairs. Mm-hmm. You know, the one issue that we thought of that we need to address is we would have to put ends on each of these benches so that no one could fall through down in that, you know, direction. So not so much on this end because you're on level ground, but there's a 2-foot drop on the other side. So we'd custom build these benches on site anyway, and we would make certain that there were no safety issues associated with that construction.
Any thought given to vandalism at all? Is there a finish on the cedar, or cedar has no?
Well, typically you put a cedar sealer on the cedar frame itself when you're done, and that's it. You know, you might have to come back in 10, 15 years and put another coat on, but it's virtually maintenance-free.
If somebody carved that, they would break the seal.
Yep. Or if they take out a pocket knife and carve it, they'll definitely do damage to it. Hopefully that won't happen. But, yeah.
The lights will help, right?
I think this is, I personally think would be a great asset for down there. I think, as you said, it does need an entrance, but I would like to run it by our department heads, just to find out what.
Well, we all have the impact committee at the office.
Right.
We do that on Wednesday.
Yeah, so,
Thursday morning.
and they can give us some feedback on what they think there might be. So
Certainly.
Yeah. But I think it's a great idea. I like the idea, especially that you're willing to donate it.
So a chance to do something for the community, that's what it's all about.
Right. So does anybody have any?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I'd just like to say thank you very much for being willing to do that. I think it's wonderful, and in keeping with the project, the original amphitheater, it's a great thing that the Rotary's done, and I think we can imagine we're going to have lots of use of that facility, and it definitely needs some kind of entranceway. So we're very grateful that we have individuals willing to donate and the Rotary to help in funding something like this.
Great.
So thank you. I definitely think our impact committee will tie up any loose ends that we can't think of.
Very good.
This is also, it's kind of setting the structure, the architect for down in that area also with the railroad station.
Right, we looked at that.
Yeah, I could tell that you.
This will be a little different. That's a structure that's actually stick built to make it look like timber frame. this is the real deal, but that's okay. I'm sure you'll appreciate, if we get to the point where you walk through there, you'll appreciate the building. That much I guarantee, I promise you.
Great, great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to the employee educational leave requests. The first one, the fire department request for Stephen Vashon to attend New Hampshire Fire Academy for Fire and Emergency Services Instructor 1.
Evening.
Good.
Okay. As we talked about earlier, what this class, one, it's a prerequisite before you can go to company officer school, which we are encouraging all our officers to attend that class. And they turn around and they up the prerequisites. Now you're actually going to go through this Instructor 1 class, which we're trying to get all the officers certified to that level so that when we do have training sessions, we can have actual certified people doing a class and we can get certificates for it. We don't have to travel down to Concord all the time. The other thing we gain from that is if they become staff instructors down at the academy, we can actually send a group down and use the academy at no cost. We don't have to pay for an instructor because we would have some. We actually have one on staff right now. We're actually going to utilize the Fire Academy this summer.
Who is that? Who's our chief?
The one we're sending now?
The instructor in that.
Oh, the instructor that we have now that's actually a staff instructor is firefighter Beaumont. John Keller has also gone through this class, and now, since we've changed his job description around a little bit, he's going to have more time, and he's actually going to go down and get his certification to be a staff instructor, so we'll have 2. And Steve, once he completes this, he will be number 3. So we're on a...
And when other towns get trained through them at our facility, would we get paid?
This is primarily for us, but if we host a class, we can open it up to the other towns, which they're finding it very hard to, get time to go down to Concord or something like that.
Now, do we charge them?
If there's a cost associated to us, we would give it to them, but if it's something that's not going to cost us a dime, we'd much rather help train the area community, firefighters.
No, but we pay for the instructor, but they wouldn't pay us for...
If we had a class, it would be during our normal training time. That's something we would budget and go through. We'd be doing it anyways. And if we had space, we'd just throw them in to help out. That's what.
I know I saw what's the cost of sending?
The actual cost of sending to it is $115 for members of it.
Plus time and a half for the time you send them.
This class is actually in Linwood, and a lot of the cost is to cover him when he's due to class, when he's supposed to be working. When he's doing the class that it's not, then yes, we pay him for that time also.
But you have to have somebody else cover for him while he's doing the class, so
Right.
the time and a half.
Yeah. At this time, we're under the old contract, so it's the old contract language, which I believe is still 6 hours in straight time.
So it would cost probably somewhere around $900.
No, the actual total cost for this one is $1,600.05.
But I would think that we could get some of that cost back if we have to host somebody, if we have to take it.
We don't have to host anybody else. What we're doing is we're doing a lot of combined training with the other area departments. So we'll go to their place, they come to ours.
It's to the mutual benefit of
Yeah.
all the communities when we share the resources that we have, right, Chief?
Because we've had instructors from other departments come and give us a real good deal at hardly no cost to us. And if they weren't there, it would cost us almost twice as much. So it's a one-hand wash as the other type thing.
Is this more promotion?
No, he's a lieutenant right now. This is just part of being an officer.
So So do we need a motion, Mr.
Get a motion?
Chairman? I would move that we approve the request for Steve Ashland to attend the New Hampshire Fire Academy for Fire and Emergency Services Instructor 1.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Yep, second.
And second by Darrell. Any further discussion? How long is this class?
This class, I think it's almost a week, you know, Mondays and Wednesdays, May 4th through the 27th.
Mondays and Wednesdays?
Yeah.
So it's a couple.
I think you got copies there.
We might have gotten it before.
Okay.
It's probably in there.
All
As
right.
opposed to going to Concord, they're actually hosting it up in
Lincoln.
So it's
Mhm.
short trip.
All right. No further discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we have one more. Request for Ben Tebow to attend New Hampshire Fire Academy for Certified Career Firefighter.
This is something that all full-time firefighters have to take. It's mandated by law. It's just like sending a full-time cop to the police academy. So there's no way around that one.
How long does it take him to get through this?
This
This
class
is an
is
11-day class,
11 days.
$3,578.
Okay.
What's the equivalent of police certification? It's our version of it. They go down there and become a full-time firefighter. You know, you've got to take this.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the request for Ben Tebow to attend the New Hampshire Fire Academy for Certified Career Firefighter.
Any further discussion? Now, is there any way for somebody to go to this academy without being sponsored by a town? Same
No,
as the police.
there's such a waiting list that you have got to be sponsored by a
Be
town.
sponsored by a town.
That's why he's been in as long as he has, and it's the first class we've found that has got an opening. So they fill up every time, and they give preference to full-time firefighters because they have only a year to get this.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman?
Yes.
Chief, do you know how, just off the top of your head, how many full-time firefighters we have in New Hampshire? I mean, it's not that many, are there? I mean,
There's really not that many when you
not
take a look at the
hundreds.
box. It's probably more, I'd say in the thousands. If you'd like, I could probably pull that number up tomorrow pretty
Yeah,
easily.
okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, no further discussion. I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks,
Do
Chief.
a purchase
Mr.
order.
Chairman, could you do the purchase order?
Okay, purchase order for the fire department. Bergeron Protective Clothing for $3,081.66. Firefighters Protective Outerwear.
This is the suit that they wear when they go inside of a burning building. The two suits that I'm proposing to buy, one is for Ben Tebow, the other one's for Brian Tobine. One of them, I think we sent it down, but there was an old PO that was signed for one of them, but there was some things going on with the new certifications, with the FDA regulations, so we held off on it. And in actuality, by me holding off on it, we saved $152 a set, plus this new set has more, they can move around a lot better. They have some safety features to them. There's actually a drag strap that's integrated inside the coat, so if they're down, guys can just grab that strap and go, as opposed to last time you have to grab them by the arm. So by waiting, we saved money on purchasing both suits. And we're actually in the process now, there's a computer program that the guy that's in charge of the protective clothing, he's putting all the information on all the suits we have down there in the computer, because a lot of these suits, when we first got them, were done through a grant. If we get audited, they'll give you the money for the suits once you get the grant, but you've got to maintain that level of protection, which means 2 suits for everybody, that they are compliant and all this. What we're able to do right now is that we have 2 suits for everybody. Ben will not be taking his new stuff down to crawl around on concrete floors. We have an oldest set that if something's going to happen, I'd much rather have it happen to an oldest
set. Plus, there's a shelf life with this equipment now. So we're rotating it in and out, we're keeping the plans up, so if we get audited, we just show them the record saying we have a purchase program, we're up to date, we're keeping everything up the way we're supposed to. Which makes it easier if we go for another grant along the same lines.
So this is for 2 suits?
This is for 2 suits, yes.
It's roughly $1,500 a suit.
Yep.
Okay.
Chief, who audits you? Like the fire academy comes and checks you?
The feds. We actually
the
have,
feds.
we have an audit coming out this month for the mass casualty trailer, which has made Tommy pretty busy because he's the one that filed the grant and got the grant. So that we have to have training records, we have to have records on the replacement of equipment to make sure, they want to make sure that their money isn't just sitting there.
Right, and it's been used the way we applied the grant.
Right,
That's
and
what,
there's training and there's everything that goes along with it.
Yes, Paul.
And in response to Patrice, I think this is where she was going. The department heads know that starting this year, our own auditor requires it. So Jim O'Virgil will be auditing.
right. Well, it's a great idea.
It's
to
part
have-
of our fraud policy.
Right, to have the inventory too, that'll help you keep track of things.
Yeah, it's in, we know where it is, but this computer program will give us,
Right.
just hit a button and it's right there as opposed to like, oh, okay, what is that?
Well, I'm glad to see the federal government is having some kind of
Yes,
accountability,
yes.
right?
Yes. Giving us a lot of headaches right now.
Right, but unfortunately, you've been very good at getting grants, so.
Yes.
A lot of headaches now.
$300 and some odd $1,000
Uh-huh,
that
wow.
we've been able to get in the past couple of years.
Oh, that's great.
All right, I need a motion.
I think we, did we, oh, no, we didn't move. I'll move that we approve the purchase of 2 Bergeron protective clothing suits.
Price of $3,081.66.
Second.
And seconded by Charlie. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Have a good night.
Tim.
Go back, we're jumping around, so if I miss anything, feel free to speak up. Land use permit announcements. Janice Maves of 188 Highland Street, Plymouth, is approved for an interior renovation after a fire. And Francis Hazelton, 114 Mayo Turnpike, been approved for an interior exterior renovation. That's it for land use permits. And the chairman's comments. Don't have a lot. Just like to say, be careful when you're driving around town with the snowbanks and stuff. It wasn't bad before the school got back, but now that the school back, there's a lot more traffic. So just be aware that somebody might be creeping out of the side streets and stuff. Haven't approved any purchase orders since the last meeting. And now we're back under new purchase orders, and we've moved on to the highway department. And we have all of our stores, $3,646.38 fuel injection pump for the RPM. Is that the snow blower?
Yes.
Yes. Mike, you want to come on up? That's pretty much something out of our control. This is a vital piece of equipment for our massive snow blower, isn't it?
Yeah, you all have seen it on the front of the tractor, filling the trucks. The fuel injection pump failed about 10 days ago. It's run off a computer, actually. That's why it's so expensive. The computer on the pump failed, as best we could tell. So I got a remanufactured pump. I've got quite a considerable amount of money, but brand-new ones in excess of $6,000. This pump comes with a warranty, and that's all I have to say, really. And it's a factory pump, you just can't go to Napa and get it.
Did the old one have a warranty, Mike?
It's out of warranty.
Yeah.
And speaking with the mechanic, he says that unfortunately, that particular type of pump that we have is a common failure part on that particular engine. They've had a lot of failures. And I'm having them do a survey in writing to get back to us as to why it actually failed. We're just guessing right now.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the purchase order in the amount of how much?
$3,646.38.
For the purchase of a fuel injection pump.
Yes.
For the snow blower.
Second.
It's been seconded by Patrice. Any further discussion?
Where's this coming out? Is this an account for like repairs or?
It'll come out of our operation budget under the line for repairs.
Is it a huge impact on that account or not really?
It has some, yes. Not huge, but depending on the next 3 months, we don't have major breakdowns or any good shape.
If no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you, Mike. Moving on to committee reports. Start with Darrell.
Well, I missed every committee meeting I might have had. Charlie and I went to the stimulus package meeting up in Bethlehem for North Country Council. And we heard a lot of towns voicing their needs. Staffers for congressman and senator were there primarily to let people know what shovel-ready meant. There's quite a disconnect, though, between what people are expecting from the package and what they had ready, because it's really impossible to have any projects near 120 days
Like a bunch of kids in a candy store putting numbers on a board. I thought it was pretty badly, the meeting was pretty badly structured. I think your reaction was pretty much the same. We came back and we asked Paul why we're in the thing, and he said it was the hazardous waste disposal benefits exceed the dues, so that made it worthwhile. But I'll tell you, that conference was a waste of gas.
What were most of the towns looking for?
Oh, God, everything from tires for the police car to roofs on garages, and, it was insane. Just plain
It's a
crazy.
feeding frenzy.
It was all over the place because some towns had projects that were already underway that they wanted to finish funding for. Some had ideas, some had just designed, they were in the middle of engineering, and they were wondering if we could get funding for engineering. Some, theaters, a couple of theaters, Colonial Theater in Bethlehem. A couple of those, Whitefield wanted snowmobile lanes. The main disconnect was confusion over, well, we would like to start a project if we had money, but if we only have 3 months before we're at design ready, and then the whole issue of in the North Country, there's 3 months where you can't produce anything, you can't do any building, so they were looking for extra concessions, and the staffers just weren't there to really hear a lot. They were there to let them know that the whole thing was on hold, or the details of it weren't quite fleshed out as far as the North Country went, as far as what 120 days meant, what shovel-ready meant in that context. So, yeah.
There are a lot of projects and grants that we've been trying to pursue over the last month. That we've been falling into the same pitfalls every time we try to get something that needs to be shovel-ready. for that to have happened, it would have had to have already been in the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So they dangle the money in front of you and tell you all the reasons why you can't have it.
It makes you wonder that, we're not just the only community, or none of these communities that want, are the only communities that aren't shovel-ready. I mean, we're talking nationwide.
Well, the other problem is that when you are shovel-ready, they say that it's in your budget, which means you already have
Right.
money for it.
Right.
So then you're not eligible on that point.
Right.
So we haven't hit a point yet.
I think they said there's about $388 million coming to New Hampshire.
Right, but the likely expenditure was expansion of 93.
You probably saw $150 million sitting on that one little room full of towns up north of the
Well,
Notch.
expansion of 93 and the future railway from Concord down.
Yeah,
They're the
that's
big
what they
ones.
want to do, something federal scope.
There's another railroad project from Nova Scotia across.
It's a 30-year plan.
Yeah. Berlin has got some stuff that they've been, but again, they've sort of been ongoing. But yeah, there were some bizarre requests at that meeting.
Patrice?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I went to the Campus Community Council on the 3rd, and we were given heads up about spring fling approaching May 1st to 2nd. It sounds like the students are doing a good job organizing once again and arranging for a cleanup afterwards, townwide cleanup day. Their spring break is coming up March 14th through 22nd. Excuse me, for people interested in that. And Sarah Jane attended, which was very nice when she walked in. We had, the one thing was mentioned that the second emergency alert will be happening on the third Wednesday in February. And I think, Tim, if you correct me, is it noon time again?
It's exactly noon on the 18th of February.
Okay, 18th of February at noon time. So once again, we'll hear that loud sound. Let's think about another item of interest. Sarah Jane announced that PSU is establishing its first PhD program, a doctorate in learning, leadership, and community. I think that's it's wonderful.
John?
The planning board didn't have an awful lot. Mr. Prescott did ask for a year's extension on this project out on Tame Mountain Highway. Anything else? No, we're not having a meeting on the 19th, is it?
Right, so we're not going to have, this is a first. I don't know if this ever happened, but we had no applications.
Right.
So, but I know Laconia didn't have any applications either. They made a whole new story about, it just all has to do with the economy.
With the economic climate right now, it's pretty slow.
Yeah, just land use permits, just having 2. So things are definitely slowed down. Charlie?
Main Street, Plymouth, their meeting was on the 16th of January. It was fairly uneventful. Tom Saman is pushing this pipeline to Ashland, which appears to be coming to a head at a meeting. He's gotten the selectmen, Ashland selectmen and sewer commissioners to agree to meet with the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer on the 3rd of February, I believe, the 3rd of March, at the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer headquarters. The 13th, I went to the Water and Sewer District meeting, which was quite eventful. They had their proposed rate increases for their annual meeting. There's 2 proposals, Proposal A and Proposal B. Proposal A is based on a minimum 10,000 gallon usage, which is the current rate, and then a Proposal B, which affects about 150 ratepayers, where they would drop the minimum water usage to 5,000 gallons. They've had a lot of... The board is going to recommend Proposal B, which would, as I say, it'll favorably affect the people who use minimum amount of water, but as a direct result, that's going to increase the rates to the people that use 10,000 or more gallons. That'll be up for discussion at their annual meeting on, I believe, the water district meeting is 12th of
Yeah, that's
March.
the day after.
In addition, they are putting forward a $6.1 million bond issue to rebuild the sewage treatment plant. It's a 20-year-old, it's pretty much reached the end of its life cycle, and it needs complete rebuilding. I was kind of caught off guard because the meeting before that, Mrs. DeLeo, the chairman, she was kind of annoyed that I referred to the sewage treatment plant as troubled in my report to the board the 2 weeks before. And I come back and I'm sitting there listening to these engineers talking about a $6.1 million rehab. So I guess it must be troubled or they wouldn't be talking that kind of money. The object is to get the project in case they can get, in an effort to get some of this federal money that's going to be made available. Alternatively, Tom Salmon has got a meeting with the Ashland board and the Plymouth board to discuss the pipeline. And the pipeline, he has a report called the Plymouth Ashland Interceptor concept, which is the history of this whole program. It started, the original sewage treatment plant was put in 1959. And this proposal has been made before. I believe it was back in the late 70s or early 1980s. The estimated cost at that time was $6 million. Now it's 8+. But Ashland has shown some serious interest in it, and it should be something that would be a major issue at their annual meeting, at which usually 25 people show up. Hopefully, enough people are going to realize that the rate increases as a result of either one of these bond issues being passed is going to be significant. They've told me what they intend to do is put the $6.1 million bond issue forward. If it's accepted, then they will raise and appropriate the money depending on how much federal money they can get. If they don't get enough, they'll just drop the project and patch up the present plant over a period of years. But the present plant is in need of a lot of help. They're putting $300,000 into the odor abatement. They voted that last year, and that's going to start in the spring of this year. So they probably will relieve some of the major part of the odor in early '09, probably the April, May timeframe. But I would encourage anyone that's watching to get to that meeting because there's going to be some serious money talked about, and it's going to have a dramatic effect on the rates one way or the other. Other than that, I don't have too much else to talk about.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Is Ashland going to put in any money towards this pipeline?
Well, that hasn't been talked about. Their interest is high enough, I think. I don't think Plymouth will go ahead with it unless Ashland participates, because they're the ones that are going to generate the revenue from treating the sewage from Plymouth. Right. But some of the other aspects of that project would be to bring steam from the Bridgewater pellet plant back to Plymouth to get into heating your downtown areas. You know, it'd be you're talking a long-term project. I'm sure the university would be interested in that because you're talking steam heat generated at a central location and relatively inexpensive. That's how New York City's been doing it for the last 50 years. And it's kind of exciting because I think the plant, we're going to have to deal with our sewage treatment facility sooner or later, probably sooner than later. If the stimulus money is sufficient, then we're going to have two choices, one of which would be to pipe the sewage to Ashland, which is 20% capacity since the closure of that knitting mill down there. That would be very favorable for Plymouth because it would open up Green Street to commercial and residential and whatever development along the river. As Stephen Call, who's on the board, said, the first thing he noticed about Plymouth is that Main Street faces the wrong direction. 50 or 100 years ago, the river was just a place to dump everything, and then since the last 40 or 50 years with EPA getting involved in cleaning it up, it's become a recreational resource vis-a-vis the amphitheater and that sort of thing. So the people of Plymouth should really get into this discussion so that we know which way we want to go for the long term. I'm talking 20 years, the long-term development of property in the downtown area.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I forgot to report that I attended a joint meeting of selectmen back on the 27th of January in Ashland Elementary School. It was at the invitation of the Ashland Selectboard, and basically there was an attorney present from the local government center who spoke to us about being able to pool your resources and following cooperative practices, loaning highway equipment, that kind of thing in a multi-town area, which the discussion basically established that we all pretty much do that anyway, but they wanted to meet monthly for a few months, and I wanted to see what the board felt about that. And I personally felt that they wanted us to develop or hand in an inventory of all of our machinery, I guess, the things that would be capable of being traded back and forth, or what would be offered. And I reminded them that the gentleman was speaking about one of the statutes that allows for regional services, and I told them that we have an example of that. That's the ambulance contract, where we're providing a municipal service and we extend the provision of that to the other towns. So I think on an individual basis, that's, when we think of something that we can do, that definitely is the board needs to be involved with that. But I'm wondering if we should ask the town administrators if it's more appropriate for town administrators and managers to be talking about the actual sharing of things, because they're going to have direct contact with all the department heads. It's not for, we don't know exactly what equipment we have or what would be the impact if we loaned or we asked Mike to take his plow over to Ashland or Holiness. So, I think it's a great idea, and I think it's something that we've been doing, living in small towns, being good neighbors to each other. But they're actually talking about, looking forward and maybe doing planning services, like joining a few towns together. Assessing services was another one that came up. These kinds of things, I think it's definitely good to think about for the future. But at this, right now, with town meeting approaching, I'm just wondering if, if we're going to be able to commit to meeting every month to discuss this. But I wanted to let you know about that.
Well, I do know that probably one of our departments that shares quite a bit right now is our municipal department, our highway department.
Yep.
Sorry, seem to be probably one of the most cooperative among all the towns.
I think Patrice brought up an important point. We've already had the discussion. I think a lot of towns, when selectmen don't realize that this is already being done with all our departments. It's done through the town administrators. The town administrators meet once a month. All the departments share the equipment, the personnel. especially with emergency management going on, so.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of mutual aid agreements that they weren't aware of,
Right.
a lot of memorandum of understandings that they weren't aware of.
And just like what the chief revealed tonight, that he'll go to one of his communities, or somebody else will give training if they have the staff member that, that by virtue of where we live, I think that we pretty much have been doing that. And every department that was there, or service provider, said that they do this on an ongoing basis. So I wondered if maybe what the selectmen should do is just approve a policy, or say we agree to cooperate with our neighbors in any manner that's feasible, but the actual working out of details, or knowing what can be loaned and what can, and liability and all of that needs to trickle down through the town administrators to department heads to the availability of workers.
Have we ever had a study at all as to how much we donate to our equipment and personnel compared to what they donate to us?
I don't know that there's a study, John, but she was asking for the next meeting, they wanted us to bring an inventory of our assets, basically. And I understand from Paul that it's a big fat thing, so it's not, that, I think that really needs to be handled at the
It's actually handled at the state level, to be honest with you. FEMA and...
Right, and our mutual aid. I mean, mutual aid already has all our assets.
We have to have that, and we have that listed, and they have a copy of it, and I'm sure Ashland, just like we did, had to turn in a copy and a plan also.
The Ashland Selectboard called that meeting?
Yeah, they did an invitation, and a couple years ago, I know Jody Dickerson, Selectman Dickerson, had put that as one of our goals, and I think it's it's a commendable idea to get people together, but I'm wondering...
The town managers and administrators.
Yeah, they already meet. But what I'm saying is, I think at the select board level, maybe quarterly, you could meet to discuss, is there a possibility of cooperating better in the future, whether it's recycling or something that comes up. But on the, we've been doing it, we understand we cooperate regularly, so I think our board needs to decide, how do we want to go with this?
I think you could renew your blessings, but I know boards in the past have blessed this operation. It's why we formed stuff like the Penny Baker Solid Waste District, as your cooperation for all the recycling centers. I can tell you, all the highway departments share equipment, material, men, labor. Somebody's down in the storm, we help our fellow surrounding towns, and vice versa, they'll help us in need. Could be right down to a tire on a ring that another town's waiting for a tire to come in. They borrowed one of our spares and stuff like that. There's another department that we have that doesn't work with the surrounding towns already. A lot of this, I think, is reinventing the wheel.
Right, but my concern, Paul, is like chain of command, and what I'm saying from our perspective, you're the one who knows. I think if department head is called by another department head of another town, hey, do you have this, or can I borrow your mechanic? Does that go through you? I mean, it's certainly not going to go to the board for a level of cooperation. But what I'm saying is maybe we should write either a policy statement, or we agree that we will help our neighboring communities any way we can within, with what's reasonable, and that the town administrator will carry out the coordination, something like that.
No, I agree. I'm not saying that. I think we're doing it the right way. Just listening to some of the things and following the emails, I just don't think everybody's aware at the extent that's
right. So I'm wondering, what should do? We write a letter to Ashland thanking them for the invitation, and approve and applaud their efforts to coordinate resources, community, or throughout our region.
It's formalizing something that's already informally gone really well, and worry about some of our other mutual aid agreements when we formalize them. Some towns chose to back out when it comes out. So I'm actually reticent to hand it over to political people who are elected officials versus there might be an easier carryover, like if we have a new town administrator, those surrounding town administrators will be able to carry that load and fill the new town administrator in, whereas board shifting, I don't know. It sounds like it's working well already outside of the board's outside of different boards' purviews. If boards get involved and create policy, it's something that already operates informally. I don't know if we can, I don't know.
I
if
can
that
tell you at the moment, it's not full of red tape.
Yeah,
Right,
But I'll just leave
and
it at
that's
that.
what's, I think is
And
why
I'll
it
defer
works.
to a department head.
Mhm.
This does.
I mean, you think it works fine the way it is? I mean, you've been
Because
helped.
It's an unwritten mutual aid. That
Mhm.
If someone needs some help, we help them, and the return to us has been fantastic.
Mhm.
We lost a plow last year, and the next morning, we had one sitting in the yard from another town
Mhm.
to use as we needed. And it does work very well.
Okay, good.
All right.
One other.
Mr. Chairman.
I forgot this, the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Plymouth are sponsoring a candidates night on Wednesday, the 25th at the Senior Center from 7 to 9. It will probably be televised, but what they're going to do is invite all the candidates, whether they're running opposed or unopposed. And it'll be like a 3-minute opening statement, and then there'll be questions through the moderator from the floor. The moderator is going to be John Roy. And I think the letters are going out this week from the chamber. So that ought to be the school board, water district, selectmen, everything. They'll all be.
Very good. All right, we're moving on to other business. Posting of the town roads. Mike.
I've got a list for each of you of the roads that we post every year. In case you are not aware of them. It's my position to ask the board at this time of year permission to post the roads from March 1 through May 1, which means we set the load limits of trucks. Anything over 15 tons cannot use these roads. The board gets its power under RSA 231:190 and 231:191, which empowers the board to set your road limits, and also, if the season permits, to reduce that time. If I ask you, you can let me do it, or you can also extend it according to the conditions at the time. It also gives the board the power to post roads at any time of the year if they feel that they should, not just this particular time that I'm asking for. And this particular time I'm asking for is set on historical fact. And that's why we post the roads at this time of year, to prevent damage. And these signs you'll see hanging off various trees and posts, which designate that that road is posted.
Just out of curiosity, what, I know it's 15 tons, but what would that basically eliminate? What
It'll
type?
eliminate.
I know the logging trucks and so
Logging,
forth.
tractor trailers, large cranes, concrete trucks. Sometimes concrete trucks will run the road at a reduced load.
Yeah,
Yes.
but basically it's for logging trucks
Yes.
and large commercial, large construction vehicles.
You also have the right to let overweight trucks run a posted road if the people that are running those roads can prove to you that it is indeed affecting their business, and you could ask them for a bond. That's in that RSA.
And Hunt Road, would that not be on there because it's not maintained in the winter? Roads that...
Hunt Road,
Hunt, yeah.
Hunt Road
Outside.
East.
Did
That's,
you get there?
actually, Bridgewater maintains that for us.
Okay.
Yeah, we did, and it's only one lady,
Yeah.
no, two people live up there now. actually.
It's only, what, a mile up there?
Yes.
Are these the normal roads? Is this
These are the
something-
normal roads that we post, yes.
Does that wouldn't have anything to do with, like, Boulder Point Road in case they decided they wanted to?
Boulder Point Road is a very well-constructed road and was with myself, the engineer, and the town planner, she's not here, and Paul, we went up there last year. That road doesn't need to be posted.
I was just thinking of some new roads that have sprung up over the last year or two. Cummings Hill Road. From there.
Cummings Hill Road's posted, I believe, John? Yeah, it is.
But I was just thinking of that other...
Oh, Marjorie Lane?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a private road, I don't know whether we can, but they can't get to it.
Right.
That's
Right.
Right, because it's a Cummings Hill.
Do you need a motion?
We need a motion?
Okay, I would move that we approve, place a ban on the fine, the roads, regularly posted roads at this time of the year. The ban will be in effect from March 1st through May 1st.
Second.
And second, any further discussion? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Just one question, Mike. Do you know the fine for running a road if it's posted?
There is a fine, and I can't tell you what it is, but I can check for you. I believe
You
the
don't
police
have to, I
department,
just thought if you knew it offhand.
police department handle it. I don't have authority.
Deter somebody from doing it if they knew what the fine was.
A lot of truck drivers can't read after.
I found that out.
Thanks again, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, under other business, sustainable map solutions, an integrated web mapping opportunity. This was brought before the board at our last work session by a gentleman named Tim Fontaine, who works for Integrated Web Mapping, and gave us a 40-minute presentation to the board. And it was basically an opportunity for the town to citizens and people that are interested to obtain through the website land parameters, a butters list, print maps online, actually would be able to assess your tax data card, pretty much everything that you would be able to do by coming into the town office and looking at TAP maps, finding your measurements of your property, to assessments, to valuations, all that stuff would be obtainable on at home on your computers. And it became quite interesting because the opportunity, because it was a $4,000 setup cost, and then it was, I can't remember, it was $4,000 for the first year, and then that didn't include the setup cost, but they were willing to give us the setup cost for free and the $4,000 first annual fee was also going to be waived. So we basically get the setup cost of the first year for free, and then the following second year, if we chose to, and found that it was something that we found provided it was a good service and something that we, the town, and we had a good response from it. The second year would be $4,000, and then future years, of course, would be whatever, what rate increase would be at the time, which would be unknown. But we thought it was something that we'd like to bring up tonight and discuss. And so I'm going to open it to the board for people for their input. So anyone want to step down?
Yeah, I don't see how we can lose. Doesn't cost us anything to set it up or run it for the first year, and we've got, I think it's going to have some usefulness with appraisal procedure, and also the real estate, the people in town that are selling real estate, if there are any of those left. There's, it's a no lose, you can't lose with the program. And if it doesn't work out, we can always just not renew it.
And they selected, he was very forward too at the time, saying that they selected basically 3 communities in this area to do this promo package. And that, and hoping that we would renew for the second year and so on and so forth. And he did bring up the point that he'd like to know within so many weeks, because he'd like to offer it, if we didn't take the offer, that he'd like to offer it to somebody else. So.
I think as time goes on, it'll be a big time saver for the personnel in the town office. It will probably take a year or 2, or maybe even 3, for people to realize that they can go online and pick up a lot of this information. Obviously, they won't get their, 50 cents for $1 for every copy they do, but I'm sure that it costs $1.50 for every $1 you get for the personnel that have to go in and dig out a file and everything. So I think it's a real super idea, just for personnel costs.
Mr. Chairman, I think people would be very excited about it when there are a lot of people. When I saw the presentation, I'm not that computer savvy myself, but I know there are a lot of people out there who are glued to their computers and would love to have this information at their fingertips. They'd be able to pull up our land parcels right off our tax maps, and it would be helpful to the realtors. And I'm hoping maybe the second year, when we have to pay for the service, some of the realtors might want to advertise, or maybe we could figure out how to do that so that it would cover the cost of the service. But I think it was a great marketing idea of Mr. Fountain to offer it to a few small towns to see if it could be established, so that people would get fluent in using it, and then it would be another tool that they could use and save a trip to town hall and save our employees from having to get up and pull things for them. So I think it's a great idea.
Sometimes you're pulling up, 3 files. You're pulling up the map, you're pulling up the town assessment card, and you're pulling up the zoning. So they have to pull all those up and take a picture of them. And sometimes in the town maps, it's so big that it's pretty awkward.
Right.
So I think it would be.
Right, and it's just taking advantage of the technology that's available, and it may be able to interface down the line with others. He was saying about the tax cards. Kate understands it much better than I do, but that if we interface with another kind of system, there's just no limit to the possibilities, and I think people are very interested in having access to information, whatever information they can, easily on the web.
I think what we're going to have to do is to really not advertise it, but promote it to the point of doing it, because so many times you put something on the internet and nobody knows about it, or the web page or whatever, and they don't know about it, so they're just happily going along. And then they have to come up and explain it to the people.
Right. Well, I know Kate knows how many people come into town hall looking for this information, and do you think the program, having that one computer terminal out front, has helped at all?
It has helped some, yeah.
And
all these people are continually asking us if our information is online, so, and we keep telling them down in the future.
Right, so we're taking baby steps, but I mean, here, this is, it just fell in our lap. You offered it to us for free. I think, we really can't lose. And it was a great thing to take advantage of, I think.
So, in my biased opinion, everything should be online, so I'm in favor.
Yeah, one of the key things with this was that first year for free. It would take us a while to set this up, get things rolling and everything, and I could see that first year being a test run, whereas if we decided to do this before, we'd have invested the $4,000 and basically wasted it. So I think it's, like I said to Charlie, it's a no-brainer. I think it's a good opportunity, and I know Paul and Patrice brought it up again, and Paul had brought it up, that you know, there's a possibility that even down the road, there's some marketing potential to it for us, generate some revenue, so. I think, and the idea that you'd be able to bring up, and it's gonna have, the stuff will be as accurate as the tax maps that we have downstairs. We'll have a disclaimer on it, I'm sure. So I really think it's a good idea also.
So do we make a motion? I make a motion to accept the offer that was put before us in regards to what is it?
Integrator web mapping opportunity.
Integrated web mapping program.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yep. Second?
Okay, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. All right. Public comments. Do we have any? All right, no public comments. Non-public session. I don't believe the board has anything. Paul? All right, if none, I would like to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion by John. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Patrice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, yeah.